I've had the Blichmann Quick Carb for about a year now, and I've always wondered what happens inside of a keg when I'm using it. I know that I get a little bit of foam whenever I go to release the pressure, but with the advent of some of the other manufacturers, Spike Brewing, SS Brewtech, some of the other ones, making devices that you can actually pressurize and use them to carbonate in, I thought it would be pretty interesting to see what goes on inside of a keg. And because I now have a couple of Fermentasaurus vessels, which are by nature a Unitank if you have the pressure system, I wanted to give it a shot and see what happens. So what I did was I filled up one of the Fermentasauruses with 5 gallons of finished beer, took it out in the garage because it's wintertime, it's pretty cold, and I left it out there for a little while. It is chilled down now. Let's head out to the garage and we'll find out what happens inside whenever we use the Blichmann Quick Carb with the Fermentasaurus. All right, so we're out here in the garage. It is very cold. I don't know if you can see my breath or not on camera, but I've had the Fermentasaurus out here for a couple days now, and it got warm and then it got cool again, so I had to hurry up and get this video shot. But what I've done basically is I've put the finished beer in the Fermentasaurus, and then I took the ball, the float ball, off of the tube. So the tube is actually going all the way down to the bottom, so it'll mimic a keg. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go ahead and hook up the liquid line over to the inlet on the Fermentasaurus and turn it on and crank up the pressure, and let's see what happens. All right, so I got that plugged in. Now let's go ahead and plug in the Blichmann Quick Carb and crank on the CO2. Going to go to like 12 psi, just so according to the chart that is what we're looking at. So let's see here. So we'll let it run and see what happens here. Looks pretty interesting so far. I'm going to go ahead and set up a time lapse on this so I don't have to stay out here in the cold garage for the entire time. But we'll come back here in about half an hour and I'll purge it again and we'll see what happens. But yeah, it's starting to fill up with foam already, so looking pretty interesting. But this is what you're going to see, or this is what you can't see inside of a keg when you use the Quick Carb. So it'll be interesting to see how much it fills up with foam, and then once the pressure equalizes, how much it actually gets back down to level. And then we'll pull a tap at the end and see how the beer did in the carbonation. So be back in a half an hour.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0, ignition, liftoff.
All right, so that's pretty amazing what you saw there. I was inside the house and didn't even see it until I came back outside. But as you can see, the pressure is pretty well equalized, and there's not a lot of beer going, or not a lot of CO2 going through the line anymore. And so I'm going to purge a little bit of air out of the top. Hopefully I don't get sprayed by foam, and then that's my normal process that I do with the Fermentasaurus. So let me do that, and we'll see some more CO2 getting injected into a solution here in just a second. And not a lot changed, so I'm actually going to raise up the pressure just ever so slightly and bring a little bit more CO2 into it. And as you can see, there it goes. It starts to go into solution again. So I'm going to set another time lapse, and we'll see if some of this foam dissipates. I know that there's a little bit of difference between this and an actual keg because of the fact that a keg doesn't have this much headspace, but I think it's pretty interesting to see how much this foams up, and I assume that it does that inside the keg. So we'll see what transpires, and I'll let it run. I'll do another time lapse for you guys, and we'll come back here in another 30 minutes and we'll let a little pressure off, and we'll take a picnic tap and pull a little bit off and see if it's carbonated and how we did. All right, be back in a few minutes. All right, so it's been an hour, and this thing is completely full of foam, which I'm kind of surprised about, really, because I thought that it would have dissipated a little bit, but that was kind of part of the experiment, was to see what exactly would happen. So I'm going to go ahead and unplug it and disconnect the gas and the liquid lines. And I'm going to go ahead and put a picnic tap on. Whew. Came off there pretty good. And I'm anticipating, because this has got a little bit of sanitizer, and I'm anticipating possibly having a little bit of foam initially, so I brought a pitcher out, and I'm going to go ahead and put a little bit of that beer in there first. Just let it clear the line out of the sanitizer. And we'll pour us a glass and see what we got. So here we go. Incidentally, this is the subscriber stout that we brewed a few weeks ago, so hopefully you guys can see what's going on there on the camera. But amazingly enough, even with all of that foam in the top of the Fermentasaurus, I'm still able to pour a really, really nice pint. So let me see here. Yeah, it looks really nice and jet black. Really nice creamy head on it. So let's give her a taste here. Cheers. Oh man, that came out really nice. I can taste the coffee in there, the roastedness. It's very well balanced. So, it's been an interesting experiment, to say the least. I'm glad I had the opportunity to do it in the cold here, but so it was quite an experiment. I was interested to see how everything would turn out with this, and I'm assuming the foam will probably dissipate pretty quickly. I'm going to go ahead and transfer it over to keg to put it back in the kegerator, but been really interesting, to say the least. And if you want to see the video of my initial review on the Fermentasaurus, if you're interested in that, and there's a lot of other uses that I cover in that as well, click or tap the screen right here. And if you want to subscribe to the channel, we certainly appreciate all of our subscribers, or appreciate everybody's support. Click the round Short Circuited Brewers icon right here. We will see you on the next video. Cheers. Have a great week.